For centuries, the Mediterranean world revolved around Rome. Roads led to it, laws flowed from it, and armies marched in its name. Yet by the late 4th and 5th centuries, that center of gravity began to move. The story of late antiquity is not simply the fall of Rome, but the eastward relocation of power, wealth, and influence. To understand this shift is to understand how the medieval world was born. The decline of Roman authority in the Western Mediterranean. The western half of the Roman Empire experienced a slow erosion of authority rather than a single moment of collapse. Administrative systems weakened as tax revenues declined, cities depopulated, and long-distance trade contracted. The Western imperial government increasingly struggled to pay armies, maintain infrastructure, or enforce laws consistently. Repeated invasions and migrations by Goths, Vandals, and other groups exposed the fragility of Roman control. Local elites filled the vacuum left by imperial administrators, often blending Roman traditions with new political realities. By the late 5th century, imperial authority in the West had effectively dissolved, replaced by regional kingdoms that ruled in Rome's shadow rather than under its command. What disappeared was not civilization itself, but centralized imperial governance. The rise of Eastern centers of power. While the West fragmented, the East consolidated. The city of Constantinople, strategically located between Europe and Asia, emerged as the most powerful urban center in the Mediterranean world. Protected by formidable defenses and enriched by trade, Constantinople preserved Roman administrative traditions while adapting them to new religious and political realities. The Eastern Roman state, later known as the Byzantine Empire, retained professional armies, bureaucratic continuity, and monetary stability. Unlike the West, it could still mobilize resources across vast territories. To the east of Byzantium stood another great power, the Sasanian Empire. Persia rivaled Byzantium in military strength, economic sophistication, and ideological confidence. Its rulers governed through a fusion of monarchy and religion, presenting themselves as guardians of cosmic order. Meanwhile, Arabia, long perceived as peripheral, became increasingly important. Its position between empires, control of caravan routes, and exposure to diverse religious traditions made it a critical crossroads. Arabia was not isolated, it was deeply embedded in the political and economic systems of the Eastern world. Economic and demographic shifts eastward. Underlying these political changes were powerful economic and demographic forces. Trade networks increasingly favored the Eastern Mediterranean, the Indian Ocean, and Asia. Silk, spices, precious metals, and luxury goods flowed through eastern ports and cities, enriching Constantinople, Persian urban centers, and Red Sea kingdoms. Population patterns followed these opportunities. While many Western cities shrank, Eastern cities remained populous and vibrant. Agricultural productivity in Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia sustained large urban populations, while access to Asian trade brought wealth that the West could no longer match. This was not a sudden transfer, but a gradual reorientation of the world economy, away from the Western Mediterranean and toward Afro-Eurasian networks centered in the East. Religion, as a stabilizing force amid fragmentation. As political authority fractured in the West and shifted in the East, religion became one of the most stable and unifying forces in society. Religious institutions transcended borders, outlasted regimes, and provided continuity when secular governance faltered. In the Byzantine world, Christianity was inseparable from imperial authority. Emperors ruled as God's representatives on earth, and theological unity was treated as essential to political order. In Persia, Zoroastrianism reinforced royal legitimacy and social hierarchy. In Arabia and Africa, Jewish and Christian communities shaped law, ethics, and diplomacy long before Islam emerged. Religion offered shared identity in a world where citizenship, imperial loyalty, and civic institutions were weakening. It supplied moral frameworks, legal traditions, educational structures, and communal leadership. In many regions, religious leaders became the most trusted authorities people knew. Thus, faith did not merely survive political fragmentation, it helped societies endure it. Conclusion: a world recentered. The eastward shift marked the end of Rome's dominance, but not the end of imperial civilization. Power moved rather than vanished. Wealth flowed east rather than drying up. Authority adapted by grounding itself increasingly in faith. By the 6th century, the future of the Mediterranean and Afro-Eurasian world no longer lay in Rome, but in Constantinople, Persia, Arabia, and beyond. Understanding this shift allows us to see the Middle Ages not as a break from antiquity, but as its reconfiguration around new centers of gravity, political, economic, and spiritual. In the next sections, we will see how these Eastern empires and religious systems shaped the world that followed.